All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to RevenueCat's second launch party. We're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to get joined up in here. Just in case this is your first time joining us, we first did one of these launch parties in December. And basically what we intend to do with them is show you all the stuff that we've been working on that's either shipped or is close to shipping. And we do that for a couple of reasons. Our goal at RevenueCat is to help developers make more money. And so we want to show you the stuff that we've worked on to hopefully inspire you to use it and help you actually grow your business. But the other piece of that is we are desperate for your feedback and your thoughts and your questions and everything like that. Who's going to be joining me today is a mix of some of the product people at RevenueCat, some of the folks on the engineering team. I'm one of our product managers. We are not necessarily presenters by trade. You could picture this exactly like if you were chatting with us in a small group or on a call or something like that, and you wanted to hear about the new thing that RevenueCat was working on, we'd probably start sharing our screen and just showing it to you. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to share our screens. We're going to show you the stuff that we've worked on. But what we'd also do in that context is answer a bunch of your questions. So please, 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 as we're doing this today, ask us your questions. There's a specific feature in this tool where you can ask a question instead of putting it in the chat. If it's in the chat, hopefully someone will get to it. But if you put it in the question section, it makes it even easier for us to find and make sure that we get answered. So we'll do a ton of that today. Like I think I mentioned before, last time we did this was in December, about 4 months ago. It was dark. It was the middle of winter, at least in New Jersey anyway. It is springtime now, so things are brighter. We're a little bit happier. And we've got a ton of stuff that shipped that we're excited to talk to you guys about. We're going to get to some things like the new billing engine that we built, some ways to get data into RevenueCat that's a little bit easier than it used to be, some updates to our paywalls and experiments and things like that. We're actually going to get started talking about targeting, which is something that we showed you guys for the first time in December. And to do that, I believe Josh is going to join me on stage. So I'll give him a minute to get joined up in here, and then we will get to it. Hi, Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good, very good. So let me cue you up here a little bit, because the quick history of targeting is in December we did this launch party. We showed it off for the first time, and it supported things like showing different paywalls to different customers based on their country and app version, things like that. Very cool. Also at the time, kind of internally, our view was like, it's great that it does this, but it'd be really cool if it did these other things too. And so we've spent the last couple of months working on those other things. And you're going to show us how it all works.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we're going to do a walkthrough of one of our sample apps for these new targeting features. So we're going to share this and hopefully not go into Inception. Okay, I think we're good here. Okay,
I've got Xcode up. That's great.
Perfect. Okay, so this is a sample app that we created called Meow Plus. It is a exclusively cat video streaming service, and it has some different paywalls in it, or different paywall locations in it that we're going to go through. So we have our onboarding screen. We're going to go through it. We click Watch Now, and we have this onboarding paywall that prompts up first, and we're not going to purchase anything yet. We're just going to X out and continue on to the app. And we have 4 different movies or shows here, 2 kids shows and two more like adult drama mystery shows. If we click on this kids one, it is we get hit by a feature gate here because we're not subscribed yet. And you can see this is the same paywall that we had on the onboarding screen. And if we go to the adult, one of the more adult shows, The Cat's Meow, again, it's the same thing. So these paywalls we want a little bit more personality in them, personalized for the user, for the location, and that's kind of what we're going to offer, or that's what we're doing now with some new targeting features. So I'm going to go over into that is not the dashboard, that is my Twitter. We can go look at that too if we want, but I was just retweeting this so there was more people here. But we have our targeting screen for Meow Plus. We don't have any targeting rules right now. It's just using our current offering standard paywall. But we're going to create a new rule for what we are release, or what we released a few months ago called placements. So we're just gonna call this like standard placements. And this targeting rule is a little bit different because we're gonna actually target any audience right now. So anybody that comes in here is gonna hit these rules, but these rules aren't gonna show just one distinct offering. We're actually gonna show different offerings for different placements in our app. So we have a few different offerings here. I'm gonna show our onboarding offering for an onboarding tag that we are going to use in the SDK. I have a paygate offering that is going to have the ID of gate, and we're going to have another specific offering for the kids paywall gate called Gate Kids, and then I think that's it for now. Yeah, that is it for now. So then if we don't hit any of those placements, we're just going to show our standard offering. I'm going to hit save, and we're going to go refresh the app and see. Well, actually, we're not going to refresh the app yet because we have to do some code changes first. So when you previously were looking for the offering that targeting rules create, you would get the current offering. But now we have a new API available called current offering for placement. And here in our onboarding paywall, we're going to use the onboarding tag that we created on the dashboard. And then if we go over into our home view, we're going to do a similar thing for when we click on one of the rows of TV shows. We're going to get the current offering for placement for our TV show type. And what this is going to do, this is going to fall and show our onboarding offering. If we use the onboarding tag, it's going to show the gate. If we use the gate tag, the Gate Kids offering. If we use the gate tag, otherwise it's going to show the standard one. So now that we have this code change, we can rerun the app. And it's going to take a second to build. Hopefully not too long. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go through. And now if we get watch now, we get our Wave paywall. We get our Wave paywall, and then I can X out of here. We're going to show our kid. We're going to click on our kids row here, and we get a specific like fun kids paywall. And then if we go to the one of the more adult kind of shows, we get a more like adult feeling paywall. So this is kind of how placements work. It still uses the same aspect of current offering, but it's current offering for a specific placement ID.
Yeah. What I love about this too is like, if you imagine what like a customer is doing when they're navigating through your app, right? Like if they just completed onboarding, they're getting introduced to it for the first time. It makes sense that the pitch you'd have for them in that moment is probably some kind of an overview, right? Like here's all the different things that you might be interested in doing in our app. Here's this great offer that we have. Hopefully you subscribe. If they don't, and later on they're trying to use a very specific feature that's gated, of course you're going to want to make them a different pitch at that point, right? Now the pitch is like, hey, this very specific thing that you're looking to use, we offer it. Here's the price. Here's maybe a new offer than what you got previously, so that like you're compelled and excited to use it, right? There's even just kind of like a human psychology piece of that, of like seeing a different thing the next time you're asking the question of whether the customer wants to subscribe. Like, of course, they're going to be more interested in a different question than getting the same one over and over and over again.
Exactly. And one of the hard parts now, though, is with this, is there's a lot more offerings that a single user can see. So as a developer now, you might be wondering, okay, like with all these different rules that are happening, how can I see like what my customers are actually experiencing? So along with this change, we actually released a change to the customer profile page under current offering section, where it'll show you a little bit more about which targeting rules are actually being run for this user. So I didn't refresh yet. This was our current offering for my user before we added the new targeting rule for placements. If I refresh this, we'll see that this user will get onboarding offering for the onboarding tag, gate for gate, gate kids for gate kids, and a standard for all other cases. So from here, I can kind of experience what my user is experiencing. Just kind of have like a nice like peace of mind that everything is targeting correctly. Um, and then our next targeting feature that we added goes further into customer personalization. So customers have attributes on them, which my customer right now does not. We allow these to be set from the SDK. And now we can use these attributes to actually give a user a very specific paywall if some attribute is assigned in the targeting view how we want. So we're going to go back to our targeting page, and we're going to create a new rule. We're going to call this Kidden Bowl campaign. So this is for if somebody watches our Meow Plus ad during the Kidden Bowl or something like that. We're going to select custom attribute. That's the new rule or the new condition that targets our subscriber attributes. My key I already added during a test, so it's already here, but you can type any new key you want, and it'll also show your existing keys that you are using. We're going to do campaign is any of value Kidden Bowl add 1. And so if my user has the attribute of campaign with the value Kidden Bowl add 1, we're going to show the Kidden Bowl offering and paywall. We're going to click save. The most important part here is we have to put the Kidden Bowl higher in priority above the placements. And now we're going to kill our app. So to view this, to get this working on this side, we're actually going to do a deep link from an advertisement that I created. That's going to deep link into the app and then set a attribute on our user. So if I go to my app here, I have an incoming URL. I'm going to do some checking on it over here to make sure that it's like the correct format. If it's the correct format, we're going to set the campaign key to the campaign value that comes in the deep link. And then we have this new method called sync attributes and offerings if needed. Very verbose, but it does some things and we needed to have that name. So after this method is called, the offerings and paywalls will have the new targeting rules applied to it. And we'll do a demo now to see how this actually works. So I think I killed the app. I did. Okay. So we're going to go into our Meow Plus ad. We're going to watch Meow Plus right now. It's going to deep link into the app. It's going to do this fun magic here.
Ad. You should consider a
very good ad.
That's a good ad.
I should definitely not consider a career in marketing. We're going to click watch now. And now we have a very Kidden Bowl themed paywall because my user clicked on that ad, deep linked, and has this Kidden Bowl add 1 attribute now. And the way that this works is that rule will override any placements. I could add like a Kidden Bowl specific placement paywall if I wanted to, but for now, everything is just getting taken over by the Kidden Bowl ad. If I go back over into my customer page and refresh this, I can see that we now have the Kidden Bowl offering here because my user has the Kidden Bowl campaign. And then I think now we have another fun demo, somewhat related. We're actually going to purchase something now. So we're gonna purchase this and click subscribe. Okay, cool. Purchase worked. I had no doubts that it wouldn't. We're gonna refresh this, and we can see now there's in our customer history, we actually show which offering was purchased with a purchase. Hold on, that didn't make sense. In this event, we actually show which offering name the purchase was made from. That makes more sense. So here it was purchased from the Kidden Bowl offering. But that's not enough detail for me. I want more. I click on detail. We have this whole presented offering section now where we can see the offering ID it was made with, the description, the paywall it was used, the targeting rule that it was also purchased from, and the placement that was used. So I can go in here and see that it was used with this Kidden Bowl offering. If I want to go see more information about that, I can click on this paywall. If I want to go change this paywall up a little bit, I can be like, okay, like maybe it's not how I want it, or I can go change the targeting rule here. So this gives you a lot of information more about the exact details of the purchase, which offering, which paywall, which targeting rule, and which placement.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. What makes like the custom attribute option in particular like so powerful is then you can imagine that being applied to like almost any other dimension that you care about in your business, right? So like before I worked at RevenueCat, I worked at a company called Teltech. I ran the product team for a couple of years. We had an app called Robok Killer. Robok Killer was a spam call blocker. Spam call blockers work differently on different carriers. There's different instructions that you need. There's different options from the carrier that you might use instead of us. And so like an attribute that we cared about was your phone carrier. Like, are you from T-Mobile or Verizon? Like we wanted to give you a different onboarding experience if that was the case. Maybe a different offer if like T-Mobile's offering was really competitive relative to Verizon's, right? And like with this, you could do all of that remotely. As long as you're setting the attribute and telling the app to go sync it, everything else gets done from the dashboard to set up whatever offers you want to for those conditions. So we're super excited about that. Thank you for showing it off, Josh. Do you mind sticking around for a minute so I can show some of what we're doing on experiments that's related to this?
Yes.
So a super kind of important part of this life cycle that we have in mind is that if you're going to go and actually like deliver a different offer to your customers based on some of these targeting conditions, you're likely going to want to be able to like test that first and run some kind of an A/B test for it. So what we did recently, let me pull up my screen sharing first, and then I'll keep talking. What we did recently was offer the ability to run multiple experiments simultaneously. For quick background, our experiments in RevenueCat are basically a way to A/B test different offerings to different customers in the same way that the offerings that you're using for targeting can be anything, right? It's a set of products and metadata or paywall configuration. Like it could be any change within that. You run an A/B test and then one offering gets sent to one set of customers and the other offering gets sent to the other set of customers. But in the past, we've only been able to do that with one experiment at a time, but you might have narrower audiences of your customers that you've defined that you actually run experiments against. And now you can do that all simultaneously. So in this particular app that I've set up here, I've got 2 tests that I'm looking to run to customers on the App Store, 1 test that I'm looking to run to customers on the Play Store. And if I just go in on the dashboard and try to start them, I'm only grabbing the iOS app here and 50% of those eligible customers. So I can go ahead and start it. I've got nothing else running right now. Then once I do that, because this other App Store experiment is also only targeting 50% of the eligible customers, I can start that as well. That's perfectly fine. And because I've got this other test for Play Store customers, same thing. Nothing's running to them right now. There's no risk of like polluting the customers that are being enrolled in one experiment versus the other. So I can start that as well. Where this gets like particularly tricky is that sometimes there are experiments that you might want to run that don't like intuitively there's not obvious differences between the customer bases, but the way this is set up in RevenueCat is we'll kind of like protect you from places of potential overlap that you might not be thinking of. So like, for example, if I was to go try to run a test right now where I said, all right, in the rest of the world, I want to test a monthly only version of my paywall. So I can go create that test. My control variant will be default. My treatment will be this monthly only version of the paywall. And I'll run that to anyone that's outside of the United States. Sounds fine. I'm not running any experiments based on country right now, but if I go to start that in RevenueCat, I'm not going to be able to, and it's going to explain why, which is because, of course, the customers that are in other countries are either using the App Store app or the Play Store app. And so that's going to conflict with this test. We don't want to pollute the results and end up with a different mix of customers than we expected. So we'll prevent you from starting that until you go and change the other experiments that are conflicting with it. So you can run as many experiments as that you want to simultaneously without worrying that the audiences are going to be polluted by different customers being in different groups than you expect them to be. In addition to that, too, just to like quickly call it out, we also made a couple of other recent changes to experiments. We added a few new metrics for active subscribers and total MRR, where we'll also show you those that are set to renew right now instead of just an aggregate. That way you can more easily predict what the retention impact is going to be from your experiments. It's one of the big focuses that we have in our experiment analytics is to not just show you the conversion rate impact, but the actual long-term revenue and subscription impact in those tests that you're running. So we've added that. And we've also increased the frequency with which these results are being updated every 8 hours right now, where in the past it used to be once a day. And so you can certainly expect other iterations like that to be coming in the future. One similar one, Josh was just showing off how we now support placements and targeting we're going to be supporting placements and experiments in the next couple of months as well. And the idea there is that in the same way that you set up your app to now have 2 or 3 different placements or different paywalls that you want to show customers, you can then define that same set of paywall locations in an experiment and split test them however you'd like to. Maybe you've defined 3, and you want to show 3 completely different ones to this audience that you're testing. Maybe you just want to show 2 of them exactly the same and 1 different one in that sequence. And all of that will be possible with experiments. We're working on that as we speak. With that in mind, so we've been showing most of this in the context of like, we've been using RevenueCat paywalls as our example. Of course, you can run experiments and use targeting with your own custom paywall as well. But our goal with our paywalls is to make it as easy as possible to get this stuff kind of up and running and work, so you can start A/B testing and targeting to grow your lifetime value. Josh, can I pass it back to you? Do you want to show off a couple of the new things that we've done with paywalls recently as well?
Yes, I can do that. I'm gonna steal screen share again.
And then if you've got other questions about these features, feel free to start, keep throwing them in the chat. We'll get to those right after this demo.
Good. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is it's a small one, but one that's kind of been requested a lot. It is, did my app freeze? Can't click on that. Okay, I'm just going to kill this app and restart. One of them is, oh, I lied. Problem here is I purchased it and my paywall is no longer going to show. So let me, I should have cleaned that up during this, but we're just going to remove this. So stick with me here. Okay, launch party 2. Okay, this should work. Anyway, back to business. One of the things that, there we go, is this close button. The close button on iOS is defaulted to your apps. Oh my goodness, I just had the word. Your color that you can define in your asset catalog. Totally blanking on that word right now. Android is something similar. We just default to that because that's your app's accent color. That's the word, accent color. But sometimes you might have your close button that doesn't really look good with the header image. In this case, the white doesn't look terrible, but we might want it different. So if we go over, I have a different paywall now. This is the welcome paywall. So let's go to the welcome paywall, or the onboarding paywall. We have a new close button, optional color down here, and you can change it to any color you want. There's also a display setting to show the close button. So right now it's actually black. That's not the value that we want, but let's go with, I don't even know what, okay color. That looks like a fun one. This pinky color thing. So I'm gonna click save here. If I go back into my app, close it, and reopen it, hopefully I have a pink colored. I do have a more pink colored close button. So this works on iOS, Android, React Native, and Flutter, and any other future hybrid SDKs that we support. So now you can change the close button color for like pink. In this case, I could do green for my Kitten Bowl one. I can make it actually match the paywall and not match my app's like standard color if that needs to change.
If I could just give a quick example here too,
yeah.
Like when you look at a paywall, there are like so many like little elements that go into it. And the challenge is that like, if you're doing all of this yourself, next time you like see one of those elements that you're like, I kind of wish I could change that or A/B test it and see what the difference is. To actually do that means going and changing it in the code and making an app update and shipping the new app and hopefully having some way to A/B test it, right? Like it's kind of this arduous process. And like one of our main goals with paywalls is to make it as painless and simple as possible to test any of these little things that you might want to test, right? Like, is the color of the close button going to like significantly change your LTV? Probably not. Is it painless to test? Yes. Also painless, right? Like having it controlled remotely, do whatever it needs to fit the image that you've got over it. Like we want to make that as painless as possible in every element of your paywall.
Exactly. Next new thing is we have some new variables. If we go to the variable section here, this is like what's shown underneath the package title. So here it's full access, $39.99 per year. We can go look at some new ones. If you go to add variable, we'll see that these actually have a information sign about it because they do require a different SDK version. So these new ones here require iOS 4.35.0 and up, and you can see the similar versions there. So Nothing major, but if I want the full year written out instead of just YR, we now have that ability. So if you are using this variable, you'll want to create a new targeting rule to specifically say, I want this new paywall for version 4.3, 5.0 and up. I'm not going to show this one, but our hybrids have also gotten more paywall updates. We have React Native and Flutter, which both have support for footer views as well. So we're going all in on paywalls on all platforms. Just takes a little bit of time. And then the fun one that we're going to demo here is actually a little tease. Should be released in May. I'm going to say should, and now you're all going to hold me to that, which is fine. But if I go into our paywalls tester app, I'm going to go into my example. We have we're just going to skip 7. We go from 5 to 7. Or sorry, we're going to skip 6. We have a multi-tier with a small banner. We go into full screen. We get this very nice multi-tier paywall. For example, if you have a service that has a basic tier, a standard tier, and a premium tier, and different durations inside of that, we can now support that. So basic, you can get basic for 6 months. You can go standard for a month or a week for some reason, or premium for annual or 3 months. We just tested all the durations. And this also has both a footer and condensed footer view. So this is just custom code here. I can go all plans. We still have the multi-tier available in the footer view. So that is coming soon for both Android, iOS, and then also the hybrids as well.
Let me take the opportunity to call out as well. The reason why we're building that is because we heard from you guys that the existing paywalls did not well support multi-tier. And so we're going and building one that does. Please continue to give us feedback like that about the specific use cases that you have in mind, maybe specific business models that just aren't well supported by the existing paywalls. It's super, super helpful for us. Josh, before you bounce, can I ask you George's question from the chat, which is the paywall still user dismissible by pressing the X or swiping down? Basically, is it a soft paywall?
Yes, yeah. It is. It's still a soft paywall by default. That's what all of our paywall helper methods use. But we do offer the paywall view as an individual component. So if you do want to make a hard paywall pay gate, you can do that by just wrapping our paywall view in your own navigation logic to make it a hard stop.
Yeah. Perfect. And then one other question. Let me do a live answer for this one. Do our paywalls currently display which offer code was used, and does it work for promo codes in Android for Google Play? I know for sure the answer is we don't have a way on the paywall to enter the promo code, and I'm not sure if it's responsive to it if you were entered outside of that. I think not yet, right?
Yeah, I'm not qualified to answer this question right now, but we'll go figure this out and then answer back.
Yeah, definitely. And for what it's worth, too, the general goal of being able to enter an offer code from the paywall and then have it be responsive to it is something we've definitely heard a bunch and is on our minds to support in the future, without a doubt. Cool. All right. Josh, was there anything else on your mind? I think we covered everything. Anything you want to add?
I think that's everything. No, I think that's it for now.
Awesome. Well, thanks a ton, Josh.
All right.
We very much appreciate it.
All right. Sounds good. See you.
All right. So with that, we're going to transition to our next topic here, which is some improvements in how you can get your data into RevenueCat. Tina is going to join me for the first one of those demos from our product team. There you go. That's super fast. Yo, Tina.
Hello. Cool. Should I just start off by sharing my screen here then?
Yeah, go for it.
Hey, cool. Let me see if I select the correct one. Hey, this should be right. Hey, cool. So yeah, as Dan introed, today I'll be talking about getting your data into RevenueCat, particularly your Google Play Store data. So for those, for context, for those who migrated to RevenueCat or have looked at the migration documentation, you may have noticed that there are some instructions for performing a receipt import. And of course, receipt imports required that you stored or had access to your Play Store fetch tokens, aka your receipts. So even if you do forward your receipts to us, there actually still were some limitations on Play Store receipts that used to prevent RevenueCat from fetching your subscribers' subscription lifecycle. So actually, first, I would want to touch upon some of these limitations, just to kind of provide some context here for people who may not be super familiar with Play Store receipts. So to kick us off, firstly, Play Store receipts only show the current snapshot of the subscription. So as you can see on the example in the right, we see the current subscription state, the latest order ID, as well as information about the product that was purchased. Since this base plan is a weekly, we don't really know what really happened before this point, right? We're on the 6th renewal, but did this customer renew consistently every week? Did they get a refund before? All we really know for a fact here is that this is the latest period that the subscriber is currently at. And secondly, if a subscription has expired from more than 90 days ago, the Play Store receipt actually doesn't return you any data at all. We actually just receive an error that the subscription purchase is no longer available because it has been expired for too long. So as you can imagine, kind of getting in your past subscription history, even for customers that have expired more than 3 months ago, previously with just the receipt, we just cannot really pull any information there at all. So now that we kind of have some context on the Google Play receipts, our Google historical imports actually use Google sales reports instead of receipts in order to kind of help create this much bigger picture for you. So I have placed the previous limitations here to kind of help us keep track of what I talked about previously. So now, instead of only retrieving the current snapshot of your subscription, we will be able to help fill in some gaps of your subscription lifecycle. Instead of knowing, okay, this is the latest renewal, we'll be able to see the previous renewals that happened before that. And instead of only retrieving active subscriptions or subscriptions, that have not expired more than 90 days ago, we can actually now retrieve this information as well. So again, kind of providing this bigger picture for your Google Play Store subscription lifecycle for your customers. And previously with receipt imports, which required your fetch tokens, now that since we're using Google Sales Reports, if there's no fetch token, there's actually no problem from here. And I guess some things also worth pointing out here is that since we are pulling this information directly from Google Sales Reports, there also may be some caveats with data contained inside these reports that could also trickle down and bring quirks into the RevenueCat system. So to kind of kick us off here, sales reports only report transactions that are paid. So any monetary charge there. And what that really means, especially coming down to the RevenueCat system, is trials don't have a monetary charge. Typically, it's $0 to start, free to start. And the sales reports does not report on trials purchased. Therefore, trials that did not convert will not be known on our side. Any trials that started a trial but ended up not renewing or end up continuing, this won't be reported in the sales report, so we won't be aware of this either. And I also like to point out that our count of new customers may be underreported. Again, since sales reports just report on paid transactions, we will not be aware of customers that may have installed the app but never purchased. We only really see those that did purchase something through kind of coming through these sales reports. However, for charts that do have a new customer's number, there are a couple of them on the conversion charts that have a new customer number, conversion fact, and conversion rate. For those, the conversion fact will be accurate, just not the conversion rate, since this relies on this new customer number, which could be incomplete or underreported. And yep, at the moment, partial refunds are not supported. And just because of the way that sales reports really work, we won't know that in between state of each subscription renewing. If a subscription was canceled, uncanceled, billing issue, then fixed billing issue, we would just know the final state of that purchase or renewal that was paid. But yeah, overall, it still provides a very close to clear, full picture of your Google Play Store kind of history there as well. So if you are interested in performing a one-time historical import, I guess I'll also mention here as well that it's worth pointing out that you would not be billed for anything historical. We bill just based on monthly track revenue, which is calculated by looking at purchases that occurred within your billing cycle. So any purchases older than your billing cycle, you will not be charged for that. Hey, cool. So with that important note, so how do I actually request a historical import? super easy, very easy steps here. All you need to do is find your bucket ID from Google Play Console and paste it into your app settings page. I included a screenshot here for reference on what that will look like in your app settings page. We also have documentation as well that really walks you through how to really find this bucket ID. And of course, make sure you have your Google service credentials set up with the financial role. Ideally, also pub sub set up as well. And of course, have previous Google Play purchases on your system. So yeah, after you kind of set that all up, reach out to our support team to kick off the process. And hopefully with this new way of importing historical data from Google Play Store, you will now see your Google Play customers' full subscription history inside RevenueCat, and definitely provide a much clearer picture on customer lists, charts, and kind of seeing that big picture overall.
What's so awesome about this too is like, if you're an app that is not started on RevenueCat, right? Maybe you migrated to us at some point, like for a relatively like simple metric, like active subscriptions. If you weren't doing the work to track all of those receipts originally, it's literally impossible to reproduce after that like 90-day window has ended, right? Unless you're going to look at the receipts and then also look at the sales report and combine it together. Like it's a perfect example of the type of thing that should be relatively simple, but there's not an API for out of the box or anything like that. And so we'll do it for you. Like we'll do the work of like connecting those data sources and figuring out how to get something like active subscriptions for the history of your app, even if you didn't start on RevenueCat. It's a pain in the butt on the back end, but makes it super, super easy on the front end.
Yeah, we definitely ran into a lot of tricky questions too, even while going through the sales reports of different columns, different formats. Not everything is fully consistent either. So hopefully the legwork that we pulled here would help you get your data inside RevenueCat as well.
Yeah, totally. I see we got one question. It's actually more on the App Store than for the Play Store. I'll give a brief answer to this. Basically, Sandra's question is there synchronization with the App Store Connect API to show you proceeds for the time period, like the current month that you're looking at? Honestly, the RevenueCat chart that shows proceeds in the table, the revenue chart, is going to be the best way to get this like up to date during the month. Because the challenge with the App Store, the Play Store handles this a little bit differently, but with the App Store, you actually don't get the final count of transactions that you're going to get paid for in a given month until that month is completed. They do give daily sales reports, but they don't reconcile perfectly to that end of the month report. And so the count of transactions in RevenueCat and our estimate of their proceeds is going to get you that estimate for, as of right now, basically, right? Revenue chart is updated every couple of hours. So like not exactly real time, but pretty close to it. And just like we're talking about with Play Store importing data, whether it's the App Store Connect API or other reports that they have, we're kind of constantly looking at those as well as additional data sources to bring into RevenueCat to enrich that. I think that's all I see in terms of questions. Tina, anything else on this before we keep going?
Yeah, I guess a sneak peek that now we have this on Google. We're also researching and investigating on ways to bring this for support for other stores as well. So anyone's interested, please let us know. Again, any points of feedback or kind of like interest there really helps us a lot along the way.
Definitely. Awesome. I appreciate it, Tina. Thanks very much.
Bye.
All right. And now sticking on this theme of new ways to get data into RevenueCat, Greenie is going to be joining us in a second. Also from our CatForms team, like Tina, working on ways to make it easier to integrate with the stores. Yo, Greenie.
Hi. Yeah, very excited to be here. Let me start by sharing my screen. Just gotta choose the right one. All right. Okay, so really excited to share. We've got a new feature that's going to make switching to RevenueCat super easy. No code integration. So we know that a major pain point for our customers is setting up. You have to import the products, you have to configure a bunch of stuff, connect the SDK. It's not difficult, especially when it's a new app and you're already in the mindset of setting things up. But for those of you who have an existing apps that are already handling in-app purchases, trying out RevenueCat demands time and a bit of effort. So time and energy that you would rather use to build your app business and not dealing with billing stuff, and that doesn't bring any real value to your users. So if you already have a working app and you want to try out RevenueCat, or if you've already integrated one store, and you just want to try, like, also integrate the other one easily, we've just built the easiest way for you to do it. No code integration. So no code integration is a configuration only implementation that requires no changes to existing code while you make use of RevenueCat data tools. We use server notifications from Apple and Google to track your revenue, subscription numbers, and the statuses of the subscriptions. It's config only, so you will just need access to your App Store and Google account to be able to do this. So how to set up? Create a project, configure your Apple or Google server notifications to point it to RevenueCat, which I'm going to show you in a bit, and contact RevenueCat support to add to our beta program because this isn't widely available yet. Okay, so demo, I'm going to show you CatFlex. So here's CatFlex. CatFlex, it's two apps here. CatFlex is a video streaming service for all of the best cat videos. CatFlex hasn't integrated with RevenueCat SDK yet, but they're planning to. But they want to start integrating with RevenueCat right away using no-code integration. So before I make a purchase, I'll show you what you actually need to integrate. Super easy. So here's the RevenueCat dashboard. So if you are trying to integrate App Store app, here's basically the server notification URL that you have to copy. And then go to your App Store Connect, app information, set up your server notification to point it to us. That's it. That's the Apple setup. Then once you save it, it works.
For the less technical folks like me, that was copy and paste that we just witnessed there. Copy and paste was the action.
Yep. Copy and paste. Yep. And for Google, you do have to create a service account credentials that have the required access. So you need PubSub. It's in our doc, so you can get that set up. And once you've uploaded your service account credentials, I probably shouldn't have connected it, but I was testing before I joined this call. So, but essentially, you just come in and then you just set it up with the Connect. Yep. So here's connected. So now you're connected. Now you can make a purchase on an app that doesn't have the SDK, and it will show up on RevenueCat. And I'm going to show you that. Let's see. So this is, just probably shouldn't have done this one because this one is, hang on. So maybe I will do this one because I had some issues with the Sandbox account. But essentially, you just subscribe, normal stuff that you're already doing in your app, subscribe, done. That's it. Like there's nothing else. It's just configuration. And here, gonna show up. A few seconds ago, I just purchased.
There we go.
That's it. It's all there. Yeah. So of course, let's talk about kind of where we are. So we're currently supporting Apple and Google only. We support webhooks and third-party integrations, as well as some charts and some customer history. Of course, there are limitations to this. This is configuration only. Charts may be incomplete as their customer history. And and so, of course, we really encourage you to just install the SDK because you get so much more. All of our growth tools require SDK, so this is kind of limited. But if you're just excited to try out RevenueCat, like you can just start without updating any code, without pushing or deploying or waiting for App Store approval, maybe get rejected. But of course, that means you get a pair of socks, which is nice. You can always install the SDK later. And when you decide that, you know what, I do want to make more money with RevenueCat, so let me install that SDK. Until then, no code is ready as a beta release. So reach out to our support team to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, totally. And like just as an example there, like even the charts unlock of having like some of those charts available with like literally no app update, right? Things like just your count of new trials or new paid subscriptions and stuff like that. Like the way our charts work, for those of you that haven't used them before, is like you log in, you go check out that chart, you can filter it or segment it by tons of different dimensions. So if you just want to like better understand how many trials are being started in each country, by each product and each offering, like all of those things are available in charts automatically. Offerings in this case you wouldn't get immediately because there's no such thing as an offering until you install the SDK. But everything else that's coming from the store, it's available in your charts automatically. No app update needed. It really is super powerful. All right, I've been paying attention to the demo and neglecting my role checking on questions. There's a good one from Sandor about why we're called RevenueCat and not Revenue something else, which I think is I don't know that either of us have the context to answer that. We'll see what Rick comes up with. I don't see any other questions specifically for this. So I guess, Greenie, is there anything else you were looking to show? If not, correct me if I'm wrong. The call to action is contact us to get added to this beta,
Contact
right?
us, try it out. Nothing to lose. You can always install the SDK later, and we have so many other tools. But yeah, it's kind of a first step into RevenueCat the easy way.
Totally. Literally painless. Awesome. All right. Thanks a ton, Greenie. We very much appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Bye.
All right. So with that, we're gonna transition. I'm gonna be honest. This next group is just a set of different demos that we wanted to show you guys that don't have a very like common theme to them. So we're just gonna jump through them and show you some of this stuff that we've been working on. And then we'll get to our new RevenueCat billing system after that. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I believe Ryan is about to join me on stage to talk about this next set of things that we've been working on.
Hey, Dan. Great
Yo, how's it going?
Nice shirt today. Good. Yeah, so we wanted to show off audit logs and just a couple like little security things. Very exciting demo. Should be pretty quick. So let me share my screen here.
This is the demo that we've got to have to remind you guys. We also sell a SaaS tool. Like this is this is serious business here. This is not just making more money.
All right, so this is it. We've got a little test app here. So I just named my project Netflix. I didn't come up with some cool cat names. So if there's any Netflix lawyers on the live stream, look away. But for starters, yeah, so we want to talk about audit logs today. But maybe before we jump into that, I just wanted to call out this two-factor authentication or enforcement that we just rolled out to everybody. So if you have a bunch of collaborators or plan on inviting collaborators to your project, you just check this, and then they'll be prompted to set up 2FA before they join your project. So a nice little enhancement there. But let's talk about audit logs. So for folks that aren't super familiar, audit logs are kind of like a log of events taken by your collaborators on your RevenueCat project. So sort of like product analytics, but it's just for your RevenueCat dashboard, not for your app. So let's get into a demo real quick. So let's just say I have this Netflix app, and I have a couple API keys set up. I have this secret API key that powers our company dashboard. And let's just say I go in and edit this, and I change an overview configuration. Like I don't know what I'm doing, but I just go no access, hit submit. And then we notice, hey, our company dashboard's not working anymore. What happened? Someone can go into a different collaborator or anyone can go into the Netflix project and check out audit logs. So you'll see here, there's some audit logs that I was testing earlier, some accounts login, accounts logging out. But we could see here, this most recent one is the API key permission updated. So this is that action that I just took in the dashboard. So every audit log, there'll be an action, which is the event that happened. There'll be a target, which is sort of the object or entity that the action was taken against. And even here, there's a link to it if available. And then there's the actor, so it's who took that action. And of course, timestamp, and then there's some expandable information here on what exactly changed. So I could quickly see that, oh, this charts metrics overview read was removed from the API key. So there's more information here in this JSON, and all of this can be exported right now just to CSV, but we're working on exports to like S3 and Google Cloud Storage as well. So you can start ingesting these. So that is an overview of audit logs. I think like for security and monitoring. It has a lot of good use cases, but also just for getting a sort of timeline of changes and diagnosing problems that might be happening with your app. Like you can say, hey, when did I change that offering, or when was this new entitlement added? It'll all be available in here. Okay. So yeah, if you need to access this now, reach out. We could add you to the beta, but we do plan on rolling this out to all customers over the next couple of weeks. There won't be any historical logs, so it'll be starting from the point that we roll it out going forward. But yeah, that is Audit Logs.
Maybe it's just because we've been talking about like paywalls so much, but like, yeah, that use case that like came to mind immediately was like, all right, I changed something on my paywall. Maybe didn't realize the effect that it would have. Oh no, something's going wrong. I can go back and check and see, all right, this change that got made, here's the prior state. Let's go back to that. Problem solved, right? There's like a peace of mind component to it when you're making important changes remotely. Like you want to be able to like go back and understand what they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, excited to have this. A little long overdue for us, but yeah, should be available in the next few weeks for everybody.
Nice. That's awesome. You set me up perfectly there, because I was about to say that this next demo that I'm going to ask you to stay on for had nothing to do with it. But the segue is overdue things that we started working on. So let me show you some other overdue things that we shipped recently. And I got to give some background here first. So let me pull up our charts. This is our demo site that we're on right now, so you guys can go check it out yourself as well if you'd like. Quick background on our charts. So we have basically like two different kinds of charts that exist for most common metrics. I'm going to use trial conversion as an example here because it's a good one. We have these conversion charts, which are cohorted by a customer's first seen date. Another way of saying that is just if you look at like the March 24 cohort here, it's saying there were 6,439 new customers that started using your app in March 24. And here's the different trial conversion related actions that they took. So it's not telling you when those happened. It's just telling you what that cohort of customers did. Then we also have had for a long time these active trial movement charts. And so the movement chart is saying, all right, well, here's what actually happened in a given time period, right? The March cohort may have did whatever, but in March, what happened is 191 new trials were started. Some of those probably came from that March cohort. Some of them came from other cohorts. It's just telling you what happened this month. But what we haven't had is the ability to then segment out this metric and go try to figure out like, all right, where did those 191 trials come from? And we recently released a couple of charts that help you do exactly that. So one of them is this new trials chart. So if you look at it for March 24, it's got that same 191 new trials that have been started. So it's showing you the same totals that we've got in the prior chart. But then I can go in and break that down and look by store, for example, and see, right, the vast majority of the new trials are coming from the App Store and not from the Play Store. You can segment that by other things like country or project, like what you'd expect from other charts within RevenueCat. What's important about this is that like in a vacuum, that's not necessarily going to tell you why it's happening. But there are other things that you might want to use these counts for. Like say, for example, you're forecasting what your business is going to do in revenue next month. In that case, you're probably going to need to know how many trials are getting started this month. You might go to one of our other new charts, which is new paid subscriptions, to go figure out how many new paid subscriptions got started that month. You might even split them out between those that came from trial conversions and intro offers, because those are paying different prices, and use that to predict next month's revenue. So on its own, it's not going to tell you like the performance of a given cohort that's coming to your app. That's what our existing conversion charts do. But these are great for just trying to understand exactly what's happening in your app right now, and then using that to inform future predictions or estimates about the revenue that you might be making from it. The reason why this is something that we should have done or could have done a long time ago is that this is a great example of the type of chart that we hear from you guys all the time that you're interested in getting added to RevenueCat. Please continue to tell us about the other charts that you're interested in getting added to RevenueCat, or other dimensions and things like that. We pay attention to all of it and take those requests very seriously, so that we can keep building this out and making it actually useful for the questions that you have for your business. All right, I'm scanning through the questions here, seeing promo codes. All right, I see there's a discussion happening around promo codes. I'll let that happen outside of the live call because I think Rick was answering it.
Dan, maybe you could tell us a little bit. I mean, you mentioned what this new trial chart's for, but like if I'm as an app developer, like when would I use each of these different trial charts? Maybe because some of the numbers are the same, but some are slightly different. Like, so you said this one could be helpful for sort of forecasting what's going to happen next month. How do they compare to the existing chart?
Yeah, exactly. So specifically, if it were me, the way I would be using something like this, let's just do new paid subscriptions because it's kind of like a simple one to look at, is if I was trying to understand, like, all right, new paid subscriptions, in this case, everything's up and to the right. So that's great. But if I was trying to figure out, like, why in March did our count of new paid subscriptions actually jump so much, right? Like, we're going to make more revenue in March than we did the prior month. So that's cool. But I'm trying to diagnose and figure out why that is. And so the first thing that I might do is segment this chart by something like store to figure out like where the vast majority of those new subscriptions are coming from. In this case, it's the App Store. All right. So that's cool. But that doesn't necessarily tell me why more subscriptions are coming from the App Store. So then I would transition to something like the conversion to paying chart. In that case, we can segment it by platform. Just the same idea as store, except store is something that you purchase from. So this is also including customers that haven't made a purchase yet. So I'm going to use their platform to segment them. And you can see pretty clearly, right? Like the actual count of new customers on iOS and Android is pretty similar. There's not a huge difference, but the conversion rate on iOS is way higher. And so that, of course, over time, that means you're going to be getting more and more subscriptions from the App Store. And you should then like model your future performance based off of that, right? If you're trying to figure out what's going to happen next month, if this conversion rate stays like it is right now and the volume of new customers does, that trend is going to continue, right? That's not a temporary thing in your business. That's actually just a stable part of it.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. If there are other questions, either about the audit logs or charts or anything like that that we've talked about so far, feel free to keep adding them to the chat and we'll address them as we go. But I think for now, we'll move on to kind of our last big demo. Ryan, thanks a ton for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. Anytime.
All right. And so we've got Jens here. Yo, Jens, head of our product team. You are showing us, I guess this is also kind of in the realm of new ways to get data into RevenueCat, but it's a very different way to get data into RevenueCat.
It is indeed. I'm talking about RevenueCat Billing and our Web SDK, which are in beta now. And I'm just going to move my mouse over to the other screen. Cool. So yeah, this is something that we shipped recently, and we've already shipped the first small improvements that weren't like really visible enough to make some noise about them, but I can still talk about them. So what is it? What are we doing here? So, well, what is the goal? Our goal with RevenueCat Billing and our Web SDK is provide the easiest way to add web subscriptions to your mobile app. So, you know, like we're not like at this point anyway, like competing with any of the big web billing engines, but like our goal is really like you have a mobile app and you think that you could also monetize it on the web. We want to make that as easy as possible. If you're using RevenueCat and you want to experiment with web subscriptions, RevenueCat Billing, that's the goal. I mean, right now I'll get to the limitations of the beta in a little bit, right? But like that's the goal. So what we shipped so far, we have RevenueCat Billing, which is our native billing engine. So what is a billing engine? That really means it manages the subscription lifecycle, right? So you make a purchase, you start a subscription, it recurs on a on some kind of basis, like a monthly basis or an annual basis. You might run into billing issues, and we handle the billing retry for you, so that we try to recover the payment, and also the whole logic about customers canceling, all of that stuff. RevenueCat Billing also allows developers and customers to manipulate the subscription, meaning things like, again, canceling, refunding, all of that stuff. And it's completely configurable through the RevenueCat dashboard. So, you don't have to go anywhere else to set up the products. You can, of course, use our offerings, entitlements, all of that good stuff. But also you can set up the prices, the durations, all of that through the RevenueCat dashboard. One small thing here that we shipped recently that you might not have seen if you started looking at this first when we launched this is we now have a grace period set up for billing retry, which works very similar to how it does on the stores. Currently, we support Stripe as a payment gateway, and just kind of a word of explanation how this differs from the Stripe integration that we've had previously. RevenueCat has had a Stripe integration for a very long time, for years. The existing Stripe integration that we had works with Stripe Billing. So Stripe Billing is Stripe's billing engine. That's why it's called Stripe Billing. Anyway, that's basically Stripe's way of setting up products and setting the recurring billing and all of that stuff. The differences are kind of twofold. One is in like the whole setup, right? With RevenueCat Billing, you set up the products and all of their details in the RevenueCat dashboard. You will not find them in Stripe. That's kind of the one big difference because we hadn't handled all the logic. The second difference is on the cost side. Stripe basically charges different fees. One is the payment fee, which for US customers is typically something like 2.9% plus 30 cents. And then they also charge a fee on top for Stripe Billing, which is, depending on the plan that you're on, between 0.5 and 0.8%. With RevenueCat Billing, you no longer pay that 0.5 to 0.8% to Stripe. You only pay the payment fee because Stripe only acts as the payment processor. Of course, you'll still pay RevenueCat, but you would do that in both cases, whether you integrate with Stripe through our legacy Stripe integration or with RevenueCat Billing. And we fully appreciate that there's still plenty of use cases where RevenueCat Billing is not the right solution yet, right? Like it's certainly not quite as powerful yet as Stripe Billing is. Again, like the goal for us is just to make RevenueCat Billing the easiest solution, not necessarily the most powerful in all circumstances. And then the second part of the puzzle here is our web SDK, which you can find on NPM at RevenueCat/purchases.js. And you can use it to access things like customer info and entitlements and offerings. But you can also use it to make purchases with RevenueCat Billing. So if you only wanted to have a web application and check entitlement status, you could also use this without using RevenueCat Billing. You'll probably still have to create an API key to do that. But it's really intended to with RevenueCat Billing. Just kind of before I actually show how it works, this is a little bit of a visualization of the different pieces of this billing engine billing engine and web SDK and how it fits together, to kind of just explain it in a maybe kind of somewhat clearer way, right? So at the heart of this, we have RevenueCat Billing, which again is our billing engine, and that's really at the center of it. And the web SDK kind of sits on top of that, allows you to access entitlements, offerings, and the purchase flow. We don't have a web paywall SDK right now, so that's not in the beta. It's certainly on the roadmap, but probably there's a few more limitations in the beta that we will want to address first before we tackle web paywalls. But we know that that's on people's wish list. Customer portal, that is a hosted RevenueCat hosted web application that allows customers to manage their subscriptions. Cancel their subscription, update their payment information. I'll show you this in the demo later on. But this is basically the easiest way to allow customers to manipulate their subscription without having to write any code for that particular aspect. And then underneath, I already mentioned, we have Stripe as the payment gateway. In the future, we will also want to add other payment gateways, but right now it's only Stripe that we support. And then lastly, obviously RevenueCat Billing works with the entire ecosystem. With our entire RevenueCat ecosystem, customer profiles, charts, integrations, scheduled data exports, you name it, right? Like all the ways that we offer RevenueCat to interact with data that's in RevenueCat obviously works with RevenueCat Billing as well. So that's somewhat the high-level overview. Now let me show you a short demo, and I'm not going to go into the code here. Maybe the number one explanation is it kind of works very similar to a mobile SDKs. That was kind of our goal, to make it as similar to the mobile SDKs as possible, so that you could basically if you're already used to writing the code on the mobile side, you could just use basically the same method names and so on. But I'll show you how it looks like from a customer perspective, because that's maybe at least relevant for you to see if you want to check it out and try it out. All right, so we have this test paywall here, and it's pretty ugly, but none of this is that's just because the demo app is ugly, not because of RevenueCat Billing. All of this is basically stuff that is now coming, that is implemented in this demo app, right? It's getting an offering, and it's accessing the products in that offering and showing them here on the screen. Again, this is all code of the app itself. So let's now actually start a purchase. When I click on this pop-up that you see here, that is part of RevenueCat Billing. That's part of the web SDK, and you don't have to do anything for this to show other than call a method. So what I'll now do is I'll actually make a purchase. I'm entering my email address here, and then this is in sandbox mode, so I can use Stripe's sandbox card for this. So this is not my real credit card. And I will click pay. And then, it takes a few seconds to process the payment. And purchase successful. Your plan is now active. I'm going back to the app, and I see success. Thank you for subscribing. Start enjoying your subscription. So in the background, this subscription was created now. So I can show you maybe first on the RevenueCat dashboard here. I see this launch party user, and yeah, so what you can see here, subscription was started, right? Again, this is in Sandbox, and I can also look at the PDF invoice if I want, but I can also go in here and I can manipulate the subscription. I can refund it, I can cancel it. I'm not going to do that now because I want to show you how this looks from the customer side as well. So I'm going in here, and this is now my my subscription confirmation here on the customer side. So I'm getting an email here about the subscription, and this includes a link to the customer portal. So I'm clicking on this link now, and again, this is now a hosted page. You see it's under billing.revenuecat.com, and this allows me as a customer now to easily cancel my subscription, or I can also update my billing information here. So, like if my card has expired, for example, if a payment fails, I'll get an email with a notification, and I could go back in here again and change that. Yeah, that's kind of again, like how this looks from a customer perspective. So again, like this is the super simple instruction on how to use RevenueCat Billing. Again, without going into any of the code. But it is pretty straightforward. I did manage to end-to-end implement this in about an hour. So it's definitely not rocket science, and that was from having 0 lines of code in the web app, basically. So firstly, how to do it? Add a RevenueCat Billing app to your project. So it's just a new app type. You can then configure products in the RevenueCat dashboard. And add the web SDK to your web app and configure it using the API key. So just like you would with a mobile app, you use get customer info and get offerings to control access and show products, just like in our mobile SDKs. And then you call purchase package to trigger a purchase, just like in our mobile SDKs. Really, it's kind of as simple as that. Just 5 steps. Just some use cases to explore here. What might you do with RevenueCat Billing? Something that's very simple is you might if you want to just dip your toes into web monetization, do something like win back campaigns via email. If you're already collecting email addresses, you might just set up a very, very simple web application that just takes an app user ID as a parameter, and send that link out to customers with a discounted, let's say a 30% discount. And when somebody clicks on that link, you just pop them the purchase method. You could also build a landing page with purchases, like a web to app user acquisition, run some user acquisition campaigns that land customers on a web app, just have them sign up, subscribe, and then link them to the app. Or you could build out a full-featured web app, right? Try and build a full-featured web experience. That's another alternative. All right, kind of maybe last thing here, current limitations. Right now, we don't have support for trials yet, but that's something that's shipping soon. That should be shipping in the next few weeks. We don't have any offers, discounts, or introductory pricing yet. Again, that's something that we will want to support, but just not yet. Right now, it's also only subscriptions. The 4th point is something that we are thinking about how to address, but it's a little bit trickier. Right now, there's no support for anonymous purchases. So in mobile, if you don't have a login or authentication mechanism, you can just use anonymous IDs. On the web, that's a little bit trickier. And partly that's tricky because there's no such thing as restoring purchases, right? There's no underlying store account that you can tap into to restore purchases. So, that's why we currently require a user ID also to be able to link that purchase that you made on the web with the whatever user you might be using on mobile. Also, right now it's only USD, but again, something that we're working on. No support for RevenueCat paywalls yet. I've already mentioned that. We will do that at some point, but we have a few other things to address first. And also, no product changes, pauses, extensions, and right now it's only Stripe. But again, we are going to be tackling basically the bullet points on this slide one by one, and just kind of chipping away at those limitations. All right, that's it from me about RevenueCat Billing.
And so instead of interjecting with my own questions, I'm going to jump right to the questions that the chat had because we got a bunch of good ones. The first one, I think you just touched on with product changes. It's when a user edits the subscription, is moving to a different offer a possibility?
Yeah, not at this point. It's definitely something that's on the list, right? But for now, no product changes implemented yet.
Word. Okay, cool. Another one that Morris asked, do we have to connect our own Stripe account or do we work through RevenueCat and get paid directly via RevenueCat?
No, you do connect your own Stripe account. It uses the same Stripe connection with Stripe that we use for our native Stripe integration or our legacy Stripe integration. So if you already have your Stripe account connected, you can just get started. But if not, you can just set up a Stripe account and use that. I know that there are some countries where Stripe doesn't operate or other reasons why you can or might not want to use Stripe or might not be able to use Stripe. That's why, again, we are planning to add additional payment processors, additional payment gateways here. But yeah, that's more in the future.
Nice. And then regarding the customization point, I'm not sure exactly what that's getting at, but my understanding is that UI that you showed is a standard UI. The information on it is based on your product, and that's the level of customization that exists today.
Yes, at this point, yes. So there are, we definitely have ideas to offer greater customization there as well. Right now, it's again there's some things that you can customize. You can customize the logo, you can customize the company name, you can customize the support email that's being shown. But no colors and stuff like that. We try to make it as neutral as possible to be able to fit in many different apps and visual styles. And once we ship paywalls, I think there is a case to be made there to just make the purchase flow, the checkout itself, visually match the paywall that you were coming from, right? And at that point, we might as well ship customizations also if you're not using the paywall. But again, right now, there's only one version of the checkout flow, more or less.
Word. All right, I've got a couple more here. Ludana asks, is it possible to be used for bulk purchases?
This is a great question. Right now, it isn't, but this is something that, and it's not on the list of very next things that we will build, because again, I think some of those other things like trials are a little bit higher on the priority list, but solving for this bulk subscription one-to-many, there's another question that I see here, which has the same topic. Solving for that use case is definitely something that is on our wish list here, because I think we will have all the pieces in place for this, right? We'll have the ability to do purchases, we'll have the entitlement management, all of that. And I've started talking to a bunch of customers about this. So if you have a use case here, definitely feel free to drop me an email or something, Jens@revenuecat.com, because I'm always happy to talk to more customers about this, because this is definitely something that we will build. It's more a question of when than if.
Nice. Awesome. All right, and then we've got our first kind of pseudo hack idea, which I believe will work. Can I create multiple billing pages with different prices, different products, I presume would be the way to do this, so that users get the offer price I'd like to push?
Yes, so absolutely and definitely yes. So there's a couple of ways that you could do that. Certainly, again, RevenueCat Billing works with RevenueCat offerings. So there's multiple ways that you could do this. You could just, create different offerings and just, let's say for the win-back campaign, case, right? I might set up a offering with an ID called, win-back 30, right? Or maybe I'll use something a little bit more cryptic so you can kind of guess that that's a different one. That's win-back 40. So But like for the sake of the argument, I created 30% discounted set of products. I call the offering win back 30, right? And I just pass that in as a query parameter to my billing page, and then I show the products from that offering. So that's the first and very simple way. There's other more complex ways that might involve something like offering metadata. Also, targeting works with RevenueCat Billing. There's some limitations here because I don't know that targeting by custom dimensions will work just yet, because like I don't think we support setting custom attributes yet in the web SDK, but it will as soon as we do that, like as soon as we support that. But for example, targeting by country already works. So like all the other features that work in the rest of the RevenueCat, you can use with this, right? Like it's really meant as kind of a building block that works seamlessly with all the other building blocks that RevenueCat already provides.
Awesome. All right, believe it or not, I think I've got at least one more, maybe others. Morris asks, there's support for tracking via only email or phone number without other info. Basically the question of what's needed in order to log in and make a purchase.
Yes. So basically you need some kind of app user ID. And well, you could use an email address, even though that is not something that we recommend, because that might that's a guessable app user ID. But what you could do is you could just calculate like a hash of an email address, for example, and you could use that as the app user ID. We do collect the email address as part of the checkout process, as you saw, and the reason there is because we use that both as the mechanism to deliver the invoices and stuff to the customer, but also we use that as the authentication mechanism for the customer portal.
Yeah.
When you just saw the email, right, I just clicked on the link and it opened the portal immediately. That's because that link, basically contains a token that is valid for some time. That means like if I click on the email within some time, it is automatically going to be authenticated. But after some time, or you can also get the management URL through our APIs, just as you can with Apple and Google, you'll get an unauthenticated link, and then we basically just send another link to the customer via that email, so that we know that somebody isn't like changing the subscription settings for somebody else, just because they got access to the URL through some mechanism, right? So that's why we collect the email address. But you don't need anything else. Like there's no other information that you need to collect.
Nice. Awesome. All right. I think that covers everything. We're going to others on one-to-many purchases, which we got to, promo code support, which we mentioned is not here today, but coming in the future. That was great. Anything else to add?
There's one for you here.
There is.
Yeah,
the charts one. Yes. Yeah. And the answer is definitely yes at some time horizon. Not something we're actively working on right now. The nature of the question is getting an easy way to see year over year, or just some period over period comparison on charts. Right now you can see those periods, but you can't in like a tooltip, for example, just see the percentage change over time without calculating it yourself. It's definitely something we've heard from other customers. So like for sure we'll get to it. No active plans right now, but please keep the feedback like this coming. Some more questions for another time. You know what? Let's do this live. Who can I email or talk with in the near future? The best way to go is probably through our support team. We're also pretty active on Twitter. We've got our community set up. There's a lot of different ways to reach out to us and get information on a bunch of different things, right? Sometimes that's just like straight up support questions, like how does this thing work? But even if you're looking to get advice on how to run your business, different questions you're running into, feel free to use some of those other channels like community and our Twitter as well. We try to be as responsive as we can be. To that end, I think that's everything for today. Jens, thanks a ton for that demo. I think it's fair to say the audience is interested. That was a lot of answers. Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. As always, please keep your feedback and questions coming. We very much appreciate it. It informs the stuff that we're building and show off in the next launch party. We'll certainly do another one of these in the future and let you guys know when that happens. So thanks very much, and talk to you all soon.